Her lawyer called her that morning. I wasn't supposed to hear it, but the house was quiet, and her voice carried through the thin walls like smoke. She sat in the kitchen, coffee untouched, phone pressed to her ear. "Yes, I'm sure," she said. "I'm divorcing him. I can't live on his pathetic salary anymore." The word pathetic slid off her tongue like venom. My name didn't sound like mine anymore. I stood at the corner of the hallway, half shadowed, half seen. My own wife dismantling my life in measured syllables, as if reading a grocery list. When she hung up, she exhaled with relief. Relief, like a prisoner escaping. That was the first time I truly looked at her. Not as the woman I'd loved, but as a stranger who had lived beside me under false light. That evening, I told her she could have whatever she wanted. The house, the car, even the savings we'd built together. I agreed to every term her lawyer drafted. I didn't argue. I didn't even flinch. She thought she'd won. But winning is a matter of timing. And I had learned patience from the same silence she mistook for weakness. The night she moved out, she didn't look back. Her perfume lingered in the air, faint and chemical, like a lie trying to fade. Her mother helped her pack. They whispered about her new start, about how I'd never be able to keep up with her ambitions. I watched from the doorway, expressionless. Inside, something quiet was uncoiling. When the last box left the house, I stood in the empty living room and listened to the echo of my own breathing. It was strange, how peaceful it felt. I didn't chase her. I didn't beg. I simply sat down, opened my laptop, and began to type. Old habits die slow. I'd always been the quiet one, the observer, the man who noticed what others overlooked. Her lawyer had sent me the final draft of the divorce settlement. I signed without reading, deliberately. He didn't know that his signature had once crossed mine before, on a very different kind of document. And as I stared at the paper, one thought repeated in my mind like a pulse. You should have known better than to play with contracts you don't understand. The weeks after she left were quiet, too quiet. Her friends stopped calling. Her mother didn't return my messages. It was as if I had ceased to exist in their version of the world. But silence is where truth breathes. I began to pull threads, small ones at first. Emails, old financial transfers, unexplained dinners charged to the same business account. Her lawyer's name kept appearing, once on a flight booking, again on a hotel receipt. It could have been coincidence, but I don't believe in those anymore. While she paraded her new freedom online, I was tracing every step of her independence back to him. A partnership built not on love, but on shared greed. The day before our court date, I filed a quiet amendment to the settlement, an ownership declaration attached to a limited holding company. Her lawyer had drafted the original contract. He never noticed the cross-reference. He didn't realize that by signing my final surrender, he'd authorized a transfer of controlling interest. To me, to the company his firm was laundering funds through. And she, his client, my wife, was listed as co-beneficiary. Their signatures were identical. Their arrogance, identical too. All I needed was time. A month later she called. Her voice was triumphant. "It's done," she said. "We're free." I congratulated her, told her I hoped she'd find peace. That same week, her lawyer called her. I wasn't there, but I can imagine the tremor in his voice when he said, "Why didn't you tell me about this?" Because she wouldn't have known what he meant. She wouldn't have understood the panic behind his words. He'd just received a notification. The holding company they'd been using to move funds was under new ownership. Mine. Every transaction, every account, every falsified record, they were all legally tied to their signatures. To each other, not to me. I could almost hear her confusion spreading like cracks through glass. I didn't need to see her face. I'd already seen the type. The moment realization hits, pride turns to fear, and fear to silence. I sat alone in the same kitchen where she'd once mocked my pathetic salary, and smiled. When she showed up at my door 3 days later, she wasn't wearing confidence anymore. Her tone was brittle. "You knew?" I looked at her like one might look at a reflection they know. Longer recognize. "I knew enough," I said. She stepped closer. "You can't do this. He'll lose his license, and you'll lose everything you thought you earned." I set a folder on the table. Inside, copies of their transfers, her messages, the forged sign-offs, everything perfectly organized. "Take them," I said. "You'll need them for your defense." She didn't touch it. She just stared. "You planned this," she whispered. "No," I replied. "You planned this. I just finished it." Her breath caught. For the first time, she seemed small. I didn't raise my voice, didn't gloat. I simply walked past her, out the door, and left her standing in the ruins of her own cleverness. Behind me, the silence broke into something fragile, a sob, maybe, but I didn't turn around. Weeks later, I received a notice. Her lawyer was under investigation. She'd vanished from the city. The house is quiet again, the kind of quiet I once feared, now I crave. I make my coffee in the same kitchen, sit at the same table, but the air feels cleaner. Sometimes I think about her voice, sharp, certain, cruel, and how small it must have sounded when the walls began to close in. They always mistake calm for weakness. They forget that silence has teeth. I learned that from her. And when I finally signed the last document closing our shared accounts, I pause, just once, and think, she wanted freedom. She got it, at a cost she never saw coming. Final line, I never raised my voice, never sought revenge. I simply let the truth do what I never had to.